speaking to me in such a vulgar way about our personal stuff, about my personal stuff. Like,
100%.
why did you speak like
Nobody
that?
should.
It doesn't matter what I did.
100%. Should not speak to anyone. Never mind you. I don't respect it. I don't think it's okay. Don't think it's acceptable.
Okay, before I start my review, I'm going to say this. I have always said this is my happy space. When I come here, I watch my shows, I review, and I'm happy for everyone that supports me by following me and by liking and commenting. And I am allowing myself space to be angry today. So please, I'm going to vent. I will always vent from a place of respect, and I hope when we comment from a place of respect as well, because I am very fragile at the moment. I love Dylan. People have called me out for loving Dylan, and I have always supported him. I feel like his connections in the villa, the person he's been connected to the most, or the person he's actually been synced with, is Sophie. And I think this is why he's so devastated with what's happened. I feel so sorry for the two of them, because you can tell they're two people who really like one another, who are hurting, and they don't know how to sort of mend this bridge that's been broken. And so I'm really sad. And the audacity of the likes of Taylor is one of the mean girls. I'm sorry. He might as well put on a dress and be a girl because of the way that he's behaved, the way that he's involved himself. It seems every time somebody is going through a crisis, he's there pouring fuel on the fire. He is there. And the audacity of Zayn, I don't get it. I don't get what girls find attractive in him, because there is nothing there. It's just, I don't know, it's just like a wind turbine. You're in the desert and you're just seeing hay bales just flying away, and that's what it looks like is going on in his brain. So I don't get the sort of the allure to Zayn. Oh my god, I'm seething today. I really am. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Love Island Australia season 6 episode 24. I'm dreading doing this review, but I have to do it. Okay, so we continue with movie night, and the guys decide to bring up Groundhog Day. And for me, this is where you see who the producers are favoring and who they're not. Groundhog Day should be about Taylor and what Taylor did. It shouldn't be exposing other people's lies, because in that sense, they should have put something to do with Steph if they were going to out Steph. The audacity to have, it be Groundhog Day only to show that actually Steph was flirting with Chrissy. Chrissy was flirting with Steph. And to try and paint Taylor as a victim because, he was outed. No, if we were going to say Groundhog Day, we should have started right from the jump. We should have started from the moment Steph went and spoke to Zayn and said to him, you're playing with the girls, you need to be honest with the girls and tell them how you feel instead of wasting their time. And then Taylor said he was upset, and this is when he revealed what he said Chrissy had told him. So the audacity to try and make it seem like, oh, poor Taylor, he's the victim, he was just trying to help me. No, he wasn't. He was being spiteful. He was being a mean man, actually a mean boy, a bad boy, whatever you want to call him. It wasn't being done because he was looking out for Mimi. It was being done because he was looking out for his boy. His boy was in trouble, and so he wanted to protect his boy by painting somebody else as terrible. And he managed to do that, because now you have Steph in the hot seat with Mimi not listening to what actually happened and crying. And we weren't shown the bit that this girl was talking about when she said he rubbed his foot against my tummy. She was holding his foot and she said, oh, big feet, but she never said anything about stop rubbing your foot against my tummy, or why did you do that? So the audacity, for me, yes, Steph, it took him time to apologize, but he should have still apologized, regardless of whether or not he felt like he flirted. As long as Mimi was saying she was uncomfortable, he should have apologized and kept it moving. He didn't need to try and justify his actions. He could have apologized and then sat down with her later and had a conversation with her about what happened and how, things came to be the way they are. The boys choose to see Saving Private Dylan. And for me, I feel some type of way. I really feel some type of way, in the sense that yes, I like Dylan. I think someone actually called me out on Dylan and sort of made very sort of disparaging remarks about me because I was supporting Dylan. But I am someone who supports my person, and when they're wrong, I call them out, irregardless of how hard I've been riding for them. And I am riding for Dylan. I will continue to ride for Dylan, but his clips weren't great. I said this before, and I'll say it again. Dylan, I don't think really liked Mimi. I think he was happy to couple up with her because he needed to couple up with someone, otherwise he'd go home. But I don't think he really liked her. I think of all the girls in the villa that he's grafted, though, that have grafted him, Sophie is the one that he really liked. And Sophie is the one that up until this point, he still really likes, irregardless of what Zayn has said to him. So we're showing clips of him, flirting with the girls so that they can pick him. And the audacity of the producers to put 15 minutes, 1 hour, 7 hours, to make it seem like it was so short, fast paced. And it's like, they've only got 8 weeks at the most in the villa. What did you expect him to do? To go and sit in a corner and cry? You didn't show the clips of people pushing him to say you need to go and graft. You only showed Nico telling him to go and graft, but you didn't show a clip of people telling him to go and graft Sophie so that he could stay in the villa. You're making it seem as though it suddenly came to his mind to start grafting these girls, but he was being encouraged by other people. I don't think typically he's someone who will pursue a girl and chase after a girl. I think he's used to putting in a bit of effort and waiting for her to put in effort. And so the audacity to make it seem like all he's done is play the girls, I didn't like it. I think with Mimi, with initially coupled up with Alicia, because Alicia is the one who stood up on his mat. And then when it came to Mimi, he was told you have tonight to graft someone and get them to twist, otherwise you're going home tomorrow. Which he did. Everybody else was in a couple. Mimi wasn't happy with her couple, so he grafted her and he took her and she came. And he didn't give her any false hope. She was actually frustrated because he wasn't giving her what she wanted, and she left. The person he actually grafted and put in a lot of work is Sophie, because when he coupled up with Sophie, you'd see him calling Sophie, even though they were coupled for a day before he was stolen by Chrissy. Chrissy left him because she was frustrated. The same frustration Mimi had is the same frustration Chrissy had, in the sense that Dylan wasn't grafting them as much as they expected him to. But with Sophie, if you go every episode, you see him pulling her for a chat. Sophie, can we go for a chat? Sophie, can... And it's like, he must have liked Sophie more than he liked the other girls. The other girls, I think, were convenient for him, or he might have liked them, but something about Sophie drew him, and that's why he kept pulling her for chats. So when Sophie tries to have a conversation, he's just saying, keep quiet, we'll talk about it later. And Sophie's furious. She wants to talk about it now. And you have the likes of Taylor saying, oh, Sophie needs to keep quiet because all the boys... And it's the audacity of Zayn to continue to want to humiliate Sophie. I don't like it. So instead of pulling Dylan aside where there's no one else to have a conversation, he decided to say it in the bedroom where everybody was there so that they could hear it and put in their 2 pence and wind up Dylan. That way he's primed and ready for when Sophie Sophie's clip is shown, or if Sophie steps out of line. That I do not like. I really don't. Okay, I'm going to try and speak slowly, and I'm going to try and give my opinion. I don't understand how people don't understand that just because you support someone, I've said this before in my reviews when I always post about these people, that I don't know these people personally. I judge them on what I see. And as much as I support someone, if they're wrong, I will say they're wrong. But I will always ride for the people that I support. Do I love Sophie and Dylan? Yes, as individuals, as I've seen them on TV. And as a couple, yes. But at the end of the day, this whole, long kiss goodnight situation, I do not like. And I have a lot of people that I need to call out in this situation. Okay, let's go. So they show clips of Sophie. First, they show Dylan and Mimi in the when they went to Hotel Amour, and Dylan saying, I won't kiss you on the lips, I'll kiss you on the mouth, on the cheek, because I've already explored the connection and there's nothing there. And you have Steph high-fiving Dylan because that's a sign of respect. Then you have Sophie and Zayn in the hot tub, and Sophie's asking, do you want to explore a kiss or whatever? They both decide to kiss. They kiss for a long time. The producers decide to show the kiss, and I'm happy they showed the kiss. They didn't show the sounds. That I think would have just taken Dylan out. So they show the kiss, and then they show the conversation the morning after. And you have before this was, when the clip started playing, you had Taylor sitting there smiling with this big grin on his face, like, now we're taking her down. Taylor is the most toxic person in the villa, followed by Hannah and then Kayla, as far as I'm concerned, and Zayn. Because why was he adding his 2 pence into that? That had nothing to do with him. 1, 2, 4... I understand it looked bad, and it really looked bad for Zayn to run because Steph has said to him, if there's anything you need to own up, you need to own up. For Zayn to run to Dylan in front of every guy in the bedroom and say what he said was not necessary. Zayn is as much as guilty as Sophie is. Yes, Dylan is more pained by Sophie because he has feelings for Sophie and he doesn't have any feelings for Zayn, so it's easy for him to forgive Zayn, and he feels betrayed by Sophie because of the connection and the feelings that he has for her. But there's no justification for the comment he made about the D. That could have been left out. He needs to remember, at the end of the day, Sophie is an HCP. She might one day want to go and work as an HCP. How will she work with people with this all out there in the ether for everyone to see? And this is why she was using terms that were sort of palpable. And so for him to go that low, I didn't like it. He's justified in feeling betrayed, in feeling lied to, in feeling like he's had his time wasted or deceived, whatever word you want to use. Dylan is justified, but he didn't need to call her out to say, you did this to him one day and then me the next. That was not necessary. This is the same reason M was mad, because Mercedes revealed about their bed activities to the rest of the villa. And so for Dylan to do that, that's uncalled for. That is really uncalled for. And for the guys to sit there and sort of be smiling and snickering, I don't like it. I really don't like it. People like Steph and Mercedes should have held Dylan down and told him, Dylan, no, don't say anything. Wait until this is finished. But they were snickering and they were enjoying it. And it's like, who is his friend at the moment? He doesn't have a friend in the villa. I'm sorry. Dylan doesn't have a friend, because had he had friends, they would have stopped him. The moment he started to talk, they would have pulled him and yanked him and told him to keep quiet. Zayn and Taylor are cut from the same cloth. They wanted Sophie humbled. So whatever Dylan said, they were up for it. But the other boys, I would have expected Nico, Steph, Mercedes to sort of pacify Dylan and tell Dylan, no, wait, yes, you're justified to be angry, but wait until you're away from everybody else in the villa. Because now Sophie, no one can respect Sophie in the villa because her partner has disrespected her. That's the problem. This is one of the things that I liked, when it came to Josh and Mimi from Love Island UK, in the sense that when it was amongst the group, they were united as a team, and then they would pull each other aside and have whatever conversations they had, whether it was telling the other person, I don't like what you did, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They would do it in private, and this is what Dylan should have done. He should have taken a page from that, but he was being poked and probed and encouraged to do this by people like Taylor, because Taylor was like, yes, Taylor was eating this up. And it's sad because it's so embarrassing the way he said it. Yes, he's justified in being angry, but because of the comment that he made about the D, it takes away the essence of his anger, because people are like, how could he do that? How could you say that? Because you can't take it back. You really can't take it back. Once it's out there, it's out there. And the producers are going to play it. And every time someone wants to watch Love Island, they're going to play it. This is why I say I support Dylan. I love Dylan. I've supported him from day one. But this comment, this little sentence, I do not like. Everything else he said about being lied to, I agree. But the comment about her, you did this today and then you did that yesterday and then you did this today. That sentence, I don't like it. I really don't like it, because at the end of the day, if that were his sister, how would he feel if somebody said that to her, irregardless of whether she was wrong or right? Yes, they were exploring a romantic connection, but they had not yet coupled up. Their couple had been broken because he had coupled with Chrissy. So she was single, he was single. They were both not, technically, he was in a couple with Chrissy, and she was in a couple with Mercedes. So yes, they were exploring a romantic connection, but there's no justification. I cannot stand here and with my full chest and say, I'm defending Dylan. I defend his anger, but I do not defend the words that came out of his mouth. Yes, it's justified to be angry, but I do not defend the words that came out of his mouth. Because if he's going to have as much smoke for Sophie, then he should have as much smoke for Zayn. He can't say, oh, my boy here, Zayn told me the truth. No, he's not telling you from a place of love. He's telling you from a place of fear. Mind who you call a friend. Oh my God, I'm ranting today. So movie night ends and you have the girls go upstairs. So you have Sophie go with Mimi because they can't understand how Dylan can be friends with Zayn. And it's like, yeah, I personally don't understand it. I really don't understand it. I understand, you know, the saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But that is not someone you want to keep closer. I'm just saying that. So you have Dylan sitting at the outside. He's sitting with the likes, and the people he's sitting with are like, Dylan has no friends in the villa. His only two friends are Mimi and Sophie. And sadly, at the moment, the two of them are angry with him. And so the people that he's aligning himself with, I do not get the fact that he was being told to stand your ground. You know you're right by Taylor. Taylor, you don't have a dog in this fight. Sit your butt down and keep quiet. You are a gossip monger. Taylor is a mean girl, in my opinion. I don't call him a guy. He's a mean girl because he's behaving like a girl. That's my opinion. I never try to talk badly of people, but that's how I feel. So for Zayn to be busy opening his top and bottom lip, talking to Hannah, Kayla, Jade, Eric, Taylor and Dylan and saying, oh, you know, I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. Same page as what? Because you knew movie night was up and Steph gave you a heads up to say you need to speak to Dylan. That's the only reason why you decided to do that. It's not because you were respectful to Dylan. It's because you wanted to save your own behind. And he says, I know it looks bad that I didn't bring Soph. It looks worse than bad. You used Sophie countless times, and I don't understand how, if she allows you to use her again, then shame on her. Because at the end of the day, you did what you did in the real world, came to the villa, took her to Hotel Amor, did whatever you did, and then humiliated her again back in the villa when you went behind her back. Because if touchy is 80%, why did you feel the need to tell him about the 20%? Why didn't you tell her, Sophie, you need to tell him about the 20% so that he's aware of every single thing that's happening? Why did you feel the need to do that? Because you wanted to justify your actions. Yes, the girls are right to be seething that Dylan didn't need to make the comment he made. Everybody agrees that Sophie is wrong. But the problem is 2 wrongs don't make a right. He can't turn around and say, oh, you did this to him yesterday and then you came and you did the same thing to me today. No, you can't say that. You can't say that. You have 100+ bodies. There's no justification for your actions. And so I feel really bad, and I also for Dylan that he's going through this, but I also have the right to feel disappointed in the comments that came out of his mouth, and I am very angry at Zayn and Taylor as far as I'm concerned. I can't stand them. I really can't stand them. I can't. So you have Steph go and have a conversation with Mercedes. This is what I wish Dylan had. I wish he had a friend in the villa, someone who he can sort of brainstorm with. I'm not sure why he's not friends with the guys. Maybe it's because he's very reserved. But anyway, I digress. So you have Steph and Mercedes having a conversation, and Mercedes is saying to Steph, you need to acknowledge her feelings, you need to apologize for your behavior. And he's sort of saying, but I didn't flirt. And he said, it doesn't matter, it's how she feels. If she thinks you flirted, then you have to acknowledge that. You can't sort of bypass that and say, no, I haven't flirted. So you have to acknowledge that, and you have to keep it stepping from there. Anyway, so they have you have Mimi sort of telling the girls, oh, I really like him. I didn't realize I liked him this much. Now I'm crying, but I really feel that he lied to me. And so it seems people have seen stuff that they didn't want to see, things that have made them feel some type of way. And surprisingly, you can tell who are the producers' favorites. I said this in my review yesterday. I'm going to repeat it today. So Zayn is on the outskirts, but he's really not that badly tarnished, so they can still make him a winner. Taylor and Hannah, they were not touched by anything. Yes, we had Kayla be touched by some of the stuff that she said, but barely. And so you can see who the producers' favorites are and who are not. I don't get why all the smoke is on Mimi, M, and Sophie. And then on the guy's side, you have Mercedes, Steph, and Dylan. And it's like, what about everybody else? Everybody else has done way worse. But why are we only focused on sort of destroying those couples? Is it because we're trying to send one of them home? Make it make sense? Anyway, and so you have Steph eventually sit down with Mimi and they have a conversation and they're sort of saying, so Steph finally sits down with Mimi and says, I didn't flirt. I was just talking to her. And Mimi says, no, I saw the leg thing and whatever. In the end, he acknowledges that, yes, I flirted. And I think it's mainly because he just wants to get over it. So he doesn't want her to continue to procrastinate on that. So this is why, in my opinion, it came across as him saying that, yes, I flirted. I get where he's also coming from, that she flirted, so I had to flirt back. Because at the end of the day, they're in Love Island. Unless you're closed off or unless you've sort of given strict instructions that I'm no longer interested in getting to know anyone else, he's expected to. He's being paid good money to be on the show. I assume Love Island Australia is paying him good money to appear on the show. I don't think he's doing it out of the kindness of his heart. So I would expect him to sort of participate in flirting unless they tell him that, okay, now you can say you're closed off. That's just the impression that I get. So you have Sophie come downstairs to pull Dylan for a chat, and she tells Zayn, I'll talk to you later, because her priority is trying to sort things out with Dylan. And so the producers are messy for having them go and sit directly above where the rest of the motley crew is sitting. I don't get it. And the audacity for Eric to say, Zayn, it's okay, it's not your fault. Seriously, do you know anything? Were you there? Please keep your mouth shut and mind your business. Anyway, you have Zayn saying, I feel bad, I feel this. Zayn has managed to sort of run and whisper in Dylan's ear and get himself out of trouble. Now I see how he's able to manipulate the girls and get whatever he wants from them, because at the end of the day, he knows how to play the game and he's got his buddy there. And Taylor's happy because as long as the negativity is on everybody else, then he looks like the angel. He and his buddy come out shining. I hope they're sent home. I really hope they're sent home. So you have Dylan and Sophie sit down, and Sophie is saying to him, there's a reason why I kept repeating to you that there was a bit of touching, because I really wanted to tell you, but I couldn't tell you because we're on TV. If they were away from cameras, she would have gone into details. And she said, did you want me to go into explicit details of every single thing that happened? I told you what happened, and I don't understand. Oh, well, Zayn told me, you did everything else bar SEX. And it's like Zayn is looking out for number one. He's looking out for Zayn. He's not looking out for you, Dylan. And I don't get how you don't get it. Sophie is wrong for participating in whatever she did with Zayn in Hotel Amor. The producers are wrong for creating that environment and sort of sending a text that was a cascade of everything else that started things, and it was just a snowball effect. And so for you to continue to take I understand what he said when he said, both you and Zayn are wrong, but you are the one that I'm coupled with. I think Dylan is very hurt. He's very heartbroken. And so what he's doing is in self-preservation mode. He's attacking the person that's caused him the most pain. Yes, he's upset with Zayn, but I think most of his anger is targeted at Sophie. And it's like, if you love someone, you should still be able to sort of care for them. She cared for you enough to tell you that a lot more happened than just kissing. And so why can't you sort of protect her as well and just take her away from everybody? They could have gone in the corner. I don't know why the producers specifically insisted that they sit there, whether it was because they wanted everybody else to hear. And so after this conversation, you have Dylan go downstairs and sit down with the same people that are part of the problem. And it's like, seriously, why couldn't he go and sit on his own? Has he been told you need to go and sit there? And then, oh, you're right, buddy, oh, you handled yourself very well, oh, you did this. Seriously, Hannah needs to mind her business, or each and every one of them. Oh my God, the distaste I have for those people, it's gone far beyond anything. And I don't get how Dylan, I understand he's angry, how he can continue to surround himself with these toxic people. Why can't he go and sit in the tipi on his own and reflect on what's happened? I don't get it. You have poor Sophie, she's devastated. She doesn't know what to do because she's the only one who's catching a lot of crap for this. Everybody else is supportive. It's Team Zayn, Team Dylan, but nobody's looking out for Sophie. And it's like, why? And the audacity for them to keep talking. You had us just standing there and looking and watching and listening to what they were saying. And then Dylan, as soon as he saw her, he stopped talking, and they all stopped talking because they noticed that she was listening to them. And it's like, how can you sit with somebody's enemies and talk about her with her enemies? Seriously. even if you're angry. How can you do that? I don't get how, given everything we've watched thus far, we are at episode 24. Dylan and Sophie are the highlight. They might as well give them the money because they've carried the show. Really, they've carried the show. Because I don't get how, with every single thing that's been said by people like Taylor, Hannah, Zayn, Kayla, this is the highlight. Seriously. So you have Mimi come from her conversation with Steph, and she comes across Sophie, who's distraught. She doesn't even know what to do with herself. And then Mimi tries to console her. And at times when you're so upset, when people try to console you, you just start crying for no reason. And so she then eventually divulges the conversation she had with Dylan and everything that was said. And Mimi feels some type of way because immediately Sophie starts crying. So you then have come running because she can tell that something is not right. And so she runs up, and then Dylan goes to sit with Mercedes and Steph. And so I love that the girls told Sophie that, Sophie, you were wrong in not telling Dylan the truth. But at the end of the day, he was wrong as well in the comment that he made, because you are his girl, and at the end of the day, he still needs to protect you. So when Dylan gets to the guys are sort of, Mercedes question mark, there's now a big question in my head, because the audacity to continue to sort of try and crucify Sophie. Oh, so did you break things off with her? Did you? Just because people fall out doesn't mean people are going to break up. This is part and parcel of relationships. If you've been in a relationship, you would know that not every day is going to be running smooth sailing. There are times where you're going to hate the person you're with. And there are times you're going to love them and not want to leave their side. So the audacity that just because Dylan and Sophie have had a disagreement, you expect them to break up, I don't get it. I love that Steph was actually there and said, you know, Zayn is as much responsible for this because Zayn waited until last minute to tell you. And Dylan says, yes, I understand that. Dylan is operating from a place of hurt. He didn't expect himself to come into the villa and meet someone and develop strong feelings for that person. And Sophie, he's managed to do that with her. And it seems like he might have been falling in love with Sophie. And so the idea that this was a cloud that was looming over them is what is sort of broken his heart. And because his heart broken, he's just lashing out. And he actually agreed that I'm so hot-headed at the moment that I can't even think straight. And the girls are saying, you know, So Sophie reveals to the girls that, oh, he said that, you know, Zayn didn't want him blindsided. That's why he told him that we did everything, you know, bar sex. And it's like, the girls are like, Dylan can't be that stupid. He can't be that naive to think that Zayn did it out of the kindness of his heart. Zayn did it because he didn't want to be caught out. He sat on it from the day he came back. If he was a guy's guy, he would have pulled him soon after the recoupling and said, okay, this is after he spoke to Kayla, he should have pulled Dylan and told Dylan, I wanted you to know that this is what happened while we were in Hotel Amo. I'm very sorry for what happened and please forgive me. But no, he didn't. He kept quiet until the last minute and then asked him, what were you told? He told him, oh, I was told touchy. Well, I'm surprised you're not as angry with me as you should have because we did everything else. And it's like, seriously, are you saying it from the kindness of your heart, or are you saying it because you want to save yourself? That situation is making my blood boil. I can't wait for the aftermath. So you have this little clip of Kayla with Eric. What am I going to say about it? Nothing, except that the producers are trying to revamp her character, because at the end of the day, we saw what we saw, and you can't make me believe otherwise. I know someone in the comments said I'm being very harsh. I'm not being very harsh. I'm just calling her out for what she is, for what she's doing, for what I see. Because at the end of the day, when she came in with Chrissy and they were being bullied by Hannah and company, we all empathized with her. But then suddenly she has become a bully herself. So explain that. How do you justify that? Yeah, she says her connection is amazing. Good for her. I'm happy for her. Everyone deserves love. So if that's her person, amazing. They can keep it moving. But it is what it is. That's all I have to say about that. So you have Sophie go up to pull Zayn for the chat because she told him she'd speak to him after she'd spoken to Dylan. And Zayn is like, oh, do you want to sleep on it? Sleep on what? Why am I sleeping on something? Did you ever take me into consideration before you opened your mouth and said what you said? No, you didn't. So surprisingly, the producers allowed them to go to the fire pit. So they get privacy, but everybody else isn't afforded that privacy. Make that make sense? Why didn't they give Sophie and Dylan privacy and allow them to go to the fire pit? Make it make sense? So Sophie's calling him out that you protected yourself. and you didn't protect me. Because if you were being genuine, you should have protected the two of us. You should have had a word with me, because I was involved in this, and we could have dealt with it and sat down with Dylan and explained everything. But no, you decided to run ahead and protect yourself. Oh yeah, maybe I should have done that. Yeah, I don't understand how Dylan said some of the things that he said. And it's like, no, why is it you have to bring everybody else into your whirlwind of mess? Own up to your crap. I'm sorry, I panicked when I heard that it was movie night and I wanted to save myself. This is why I ran to tell him, and I should have considered you. Yes, I'm sorry. And that's it. You don't need to bring anything else. So for him to go back and be speaking to Nico, Jade, and Mia and saying, oh, you know, I'm a guy, for me it's a guy, people will just shrug it off, but for Sophie she's a girl. If you knew that, you should have stood on business, because Sophie said to you, you left her out to dry, and you did. If you knew that, you should have stood up for her. When Dylan made that comment, you should have said to him, I'm sorry, I know I hurt your feelings, we upset you, but that's not necessary. No, you didn't. You stood there and you're busy amongst the guys saying, yes, you're right. Yes, you're right to be angry. Yes, you're right to be angry. But behind his back and behind Sophie's back, you're pretending to be the good guy. Oh, I know it looks bad for Sophie. You know, people will say things when it comes out, and he didn't need to bring his part in. What did you expect him to do, Sherlock Holmes? What did you expect him to do? How did you expect him to react when you went and you whispered in his ear? Make that make sense? So you expected him to be sitting there and giddy and smiley. How did you expect him to react? Because had you told him, I'm so sorry about what happened between me and Soph, you're going to say things that you might not like, but please could we have a conversation afterwards? That would have been enough. That would have been enough. You didn't need to go into detail and tell him, oh, you only found out about 80%, there was 20% more. You didn't need to say all that. You did not need to say all that. The two of you should have been considerate. At the end of the day, Sophie is a nurse. She'll one day want to go back to nursing. And how will she look after patients when they've seen her on TV and had all this said about her and seen her? Yes, she's responsible for acting out, but also the comments that you guys have said, how will they perceive her? I'm going to say this. I don't want anyone to tell me that Sophie and Dylan are a fake connection, because I feel like they're a real connection. If they don't work out, it's because they liked each other, or they had such strong feelings for one another, and they couldn't find how to sort of come back from the pain that they had caused each other. Because you have Sophie and Dylan go for a second chat, and you can see they're really trying, because they're so used to being around each other, so they're trying to find their way back to one another, but their communication skills are terrible. I remember in the Hideaway when they were saying, using my words, I'm learning to use my words, and I really wish they had learned more to use their words, because you can tell they're both hurting, but at the same time they're struggling to know what to say, because they know that they've caused each other a lot of pain. Sophie knows her actions with Zayn have really hurt Dylan to the core. And Dylan knows that the words that came out of his mouth have really hurt Sophie, because Sophie sits down with him and says to him, you know, nobody deserves to be spoken to the way you spoke to me. That wasn't necessary. And he agrees that I really feel bad that I said that to you, because nobody deserves to be spoken like that, let alone you, which means that she is on a higher pedestal than everybody else. So because she's very important to him, she's the last person who should be spoken to like that. So anyway, he wishes he could take his words back, but he can't. She acknowledges that she is wrong in the sense that she didn't tell him every single detail, but she says at the same time, there's no way I was going to come on here and tell you every single detail of what we did. I thought in telling you what I told you, that was enough and you'd be satisfied with that. So the fact that you're not satisfied with that, it really breaks my heart, and I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to say, because this has happened and this is where we are. Where do we go from here? And it's like, yeah, it really is sad that the two of them couldn't reach an understanding. The two of them couldn't sort of work out where they went wrong, because Sophie's wrong. Yes, she didn't tell him, but at least she told him. Initially she said we kissed, and then she went back and she told him more of what they did. And so for him to say he wanted to be told that they did a lot more than that, that's semantics. That's semantics, Dylan. Yeah, at least she said something. She didn't keep quiet. Yes, maybe when you saw the clip, she should have apologized. But still, the two of you could have taken that conversation away from everybody else. Because now you have knuckleheads like Zayn saying, oh, Dylan didn't need to talk about the fact that Sophie gave him head the next day. Yeah, you should have taken it aside. You can tell that they're really hurt. I like that at least he apologized for his words. Yes, he can't take them back, but at least he apologized to Sophie, and Sophie seems to have taken it. But the fact that they can't find a way forward and they're both just devastated and they just feel like they're on a hamster wheel and they're going round in circles, that is heartbreaking for me. That is heartbreaking. And I have to give it to Mimi, because she's really been a friend for Sophie. She's really tried her best to sort of stand up for Sophie. I hope she pulls Dylan aside and has a conversation with him, because that's her friend. So I hope she pulls him aside and has a conversation and tries to make him see sense, because none of the boys is making him see sense. As far as I'm concerned, all the boys are just adding fuel to the fire. The only person who at least put a bit of water was Steph. He's the one who tried to sort of ease the tension. Everybody else, including Mercedes, are putting fuel to the fire as though they're perfect. We have all done wrongs in relationships. We've all said terrible things at one point when we were angry. So it's not like Dylan and Sophie, what they've done is something new. Yes, that was cheating. Some of us are not cheaters, but still at the same time, we've all made mistakes and we all have been forgiven. And so Dylan and Sophie deserve to be forgiven, but it's a matter of them forgiving each other, because I think if they can get over this, nothing can bring them down. Well, they'll be the strongest couple in the villa, because as far as I'm concerned, looking at everything that's happened, I say Sophie and Dylan are the strongest couple in the villa, irregardless of what happened in Hotel Amour. They are the strongest couple, because at least they are fighting for their relationship, for their connection. Everybody else is just brushing stuff under the carpet. Yes, you had Mimi and Steph have their conversation, but everybody else is just pretending like nothing happened on movie night. And it's like, make it make sense. They are not the only ones that had disaster happen. There were so many titles there. Why is it we were only shown about 4 or 5? Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 23. Bye guys.